Before this fight, in over 25 years of watching professional boxing, I had never before seen a fighter as inexperienced and protected as Anthony Yarde. And remember, Anthony Yarde, only 12 amateur fights at a low level and 18 pro fights against nothing but cream puffs and tomato cans. Never before have I seen a guy so inexperienced and protected travel to a reigning champion's backyard, a guy who hits hard and who's a very good boxer, three-time world champion. Never have I seen a guy that inexperienced go to a good champion's backyard and take the title. And after this fight, of course, I've still never seen it. But Anthony Yarde came very, very close to doing just that. Sergey Kovalev retains his WBO World Light Heavyweight title with an 11th round knockout over Mr. Anthony Yarde. Let's talk about it. Yarde, throughout the build-up to this fight, has been very confident, very relaxed. And to me, that alone was unusual because most fighters so inexperienced would have probably fallen to pieces before they even stepped in the ring. Yeah, never mind when they started getting hit with hard jabs from the KRUSHER. So Yarde did fantastically well to maintain that confidence level, to be so relaxed. He went in there and I actually gave him the first 3 rounds. To me, his speed was really bothering Kovalev. His head movement, he looked really good in there for the first few rounds, but he was using a lot of explosive movement, that explosive energy. And of course, he's a very heavily muscled guy, which I'll get onto later on in the video. But during the 4th round, I noticed that Yarde started slowing down. Kovalev had a much better round in the 4th. That was the first one I gave to Kovalev. As the fight progressed, Yarde started holding his feet more because I think the moving around was making him even more tired. He started holding his feet and he started answering questions. In fact, he already answered a question in the first 3 rounds. He showed that he does have world-class movement. He does have world-class speed. He does have a world-class mentality, meaning he's not going to freeze and etc. Because most fighters, as I keep saying, I'm telling you people, most fighters that inexperienced and protected, they fall to bits psychologically. He held it together psychologically. Great through the first 3 rounds, did very well. Then he started getting clipped with some clean shots here and there. And he answered the next question. His chin is just fine, Anthony Yarde. I know some people are going to be talking about the knockout shot. I'll get onto that. But his chin is just fine. Okay, I'm not saying he's got an iron jaw, but he's certainly not chinny. If he was, that would have been exposed long before the 11th round. So that's another question that he answered. Plenty of heart, because when things got tough in the trenches, he kept pushing forward and trying to make things happen. And he was really sticking it on Sergey Kovalev in this fight. I mean, he was fighting like a man who didn't believe he could win on points. The strategy seemed to be to go there to knock him out, which I guess most people feel like he would have had to in Russia. Most people feel like he wouldn't have got a decision. So midway through the fight, I forget which round it was. I think it might have been in the 8th. He really stuck it on Sergey. In fact, in the 7th, he stuck it on Kovalev with some body shots. Kovalev was noticeably tired and looked like, to me, he was wilting from the body shots. Then in the 8th, he went to the body again and he went upstairs with headshots in the follow-up. And Sergey Kovalev was in desperate trouble. I mean, Sergey Kovalev was a punch or two from not only getting knocked down, but possibly getting devastatingly knocked out. He was so close to losing his WBO World Light Heavyweight title in there. But Yarde just couldn't find the right punches to close the show. In the 9th round, Kovalev came out and just kept Yarde at bay with a jab on the outside. In fact, I think it was at the end of the 8th, in between rounds, Buddy McGirt, think about this, people. Think about how deep this is. Buddy McGirt told Sergey Kovalev, if you have another round like that, I'm going to pull you out of the fight. That is how close Sergey Kovalev came to losing to Anthony Yarde. All right? And there's a lot of passion in my voice right now because I want you people to understand how unusual this is to get that level of performance from somebody so inexperienced. Okay? Nearly took Kovalev out in the 8th. His corner were touch and go about pulling Kovalev out of the fight. But Kovalev came out in the 9th. Yarde was gassed from the attack in the 8th. That allowed Kovalev to get back on his jab in the 9th and start getting in control of things again. 10th round, same kind of thing. Yarde was still landing a decent shots here and there, but he really expended a tremendous amount of energy in that 8th. 11th round came. Well, in the 10th, you could see that Yarde was really tired. I think he was hurt actually towards the end of the 10th. Then in the 11th round, action resumed and Yarde looked tired, from the start of the 11th. Got caught with a couple shots from Kovalev, culminating in a very stiff jab, which sent Anthony Yarde crashing to the canvas. It was the first knockdown of the fight, and Anthony Yarde could not get back up to his feet. He was counted out. Now, I've seen some people already saying, how could you get knocked out by a jab? You've clearly never been in a boxing ring if you're talking rubbish like that. You've clearly never been in a real fight in a boxing ring. You might have messed around with one of your mates or something in the ring. If you've actually been in a real fight, if you've actually sparred hard 10, 12 rounds against somebody who's good, who can bang, all right? And that's in the gym, right? In a fight, when you're wearing little 10-ounce gloves, you've just given it everything in the 8th round trying to get your opponent out of there. You're in there with one of the biggest punches in the world. You're absolutely knackered. You've never been to the 11th round before. Yarde was taking the jabs just fine earlier on in the fight, but in the 11th, when he was completely spent, he couldn't take the shots no more. Kovalev walked him onto a very solid jab. Yarde went down, couldn't get back up. So you have to give Kovalev credit, obviously, because he had a young guy in there with a lot of energy, a lot of strength, who pushed him to the absolute brink, to the point where his own corner were thinking of pulling him out of the fight. Massive credit to Anthony Yarde. That's all I can tell you. I kept on repeating the same phrase for the past year or so, wake me up when we get there, because to me it was tedious seeing Anthony Yarde again and again blast out overmatched journeymen, cream puffs, puddings, etc. And I said, look, when they put him in there against somebody with a pulse, then I'll sit up and take notice. They did so here against Sergey Kovalev. I think it was the wrong fight. They took a gamble and it was nearly the right fight. But if Yarde had been given more experience prior to this, he might have gone in there and won against Kovalev, But then again, to be fair, maybe Kovalev wouldn't have been champion if they'd waited and, fought some better competition and gained Yarde's more experience. And I'll come on to that actually, because I don't think Kovalev is going to hang on to that belt for very much longer. He looks old, right? And that fight right there, if you didn't think he looked old before that fight, he took a lot of punishment here, people, against Anthony Yarde. That was a tough fight for Sergey Kovalev. That is going to put, or that is going to take, years off his career. I'm telling you now, a 36-year-old guy who's already had a tough career, already lost 3 times, been in grueling fights and wars, that is the last thing he needs. That kind of fight. So I don't think Kovalev is going to be around for too much longer. Anthony Yarde, however, if he can recover from this defeat, he can be around for a very long time. If this man stays dedicated, he's got tremendous self-belief. With extra experience, I think he can go a long way. The only issue for Yarde, well, not the only issue, but the biggest issue for Yarde, which I'm sure everybody's going to talk about now, is his stamina. I've seen some people come out and say, well, it's because he's got these big muscles that he doesn't have stamina. Yes, that is definitely a contributing factor. Also, the fact that he's a very explosive fighter. And when you put so much in to your attacks, because that's how explosive fighters are, like a David Haye, you put so much force into your punches, that takes more out of you than if you're boxing, at a more steady, measured pace, and you're not putting 100% energy into every punch, which is what Yarde did a lot, certainly in the early rounds. Personally, from what I saw in this fight, the muscle that he has on him is a little detrimental, but I don't think that it's a deal breaker. Yarde proved that he's world class in there in terms of his skill. He proved he's got world-class heart, world-class chin, world-class everything other than the stamina. Yeah? And if he manages his stamina a bit better, and that will come with experience, I think he'll be okay, you know. I think he'll be able to go 12 rounds and so on and so forth. Because remember, he put a tremendous amount into that 8th round alone, you know. And he also put a lot in even to the first 3 rounds. He wasn't going all out, but, you know, a lot of movement and explosive punching and stuff like that. I think early in the fight, he wasn't quite sure if he could take Kovalev's power. But once he started slowing down and Kovalev started connecting, I think Yarde realized, actually, I can take these or I can slip these, you know, because even on the inside, Yarde was managing to roll with a lot of Kovalev shots. So he felt more comfortable trying to walk Kovalev down. And Yarde did walk Kovalev down in this fight. You know, probably for the majority of the fight, he was walking him down. So I just have to take my hat off to Anthony Yarde. And to some extent, I have to take my hat off to Tunde Ajayi as well. I know I've said a lot of things about Ajayi and, you know, some of the nonsense that comes out of his mouth, but he prepared this young man very well, considering the lack of experience. Okay, and I'm talking about for this specific fight, he prepared him well, mentally and physically. In terms of Tunde Ajayi's management, we have to wait and see how Yarde's career pans out from here on in. Because he might have got all the experience that he needed from this fight here. You know, or most of the experience that he needed. He might have got it all from this fight. So this fight might have done a better job than, you know, 4 or 5 other fights against maybe European level fighters or fringe world level fighters. This fight alone might have done the job of 5 of those kind of fights. Possibly. We have to wait and see how it pans out. But as I say, most fighters, the vast majority, as inexperienced and protected as Anthony Yarde, they would have fallen to pieces before they even got in the ring, and they would have got smashed to bits within, you know, 3-4 rounds. Most of them, I'm telling you. So Anthony Yarde, maximum respect to him. You know, I saw somebody in my Facebook boxing group saying Anthony Yarde will never be world class. You know, it just sounds like somebody who's protecting their prediction, who expected Kovalev to win this fight easy and Yarde to get smashed to bits in a couple of rounds, protecting their prediction by saying, oh, Yarde will never be world class. I don't know what you're smoking, bro. Did you see the Alida Alvarez fight, Kovalev's last fight? Yarde came far closer to beating Kovalev than Alida Alvarez did. He gave Kovalev far more problems than Alida Alvarez did. That's facts. So if Yarde ain't world class, then, well, Alvarez can't be world class then. Of course Yarde is world class. Anyone saying otherwise is talking absolute nonsense. But of course, world class is not one level. Yeah, everybody at world class is not as good as each other. Yeah, Alvarez is world class, but he's not as good as Kovalev. Yeah, Yarde is world class, but he's not as good as Kovalev. So, yeah, maximum respect to this young man. Respect to the team. You know, maybe they could have done it differently. Maybe they could have prepared him against better opponents and, you know, got him some 12-rounders, really. That's the thing that would have been ideal for him. So he could have learned to manage his stamina a bit better, because he did go for broke in the 8th. Now, I've seen some people criticizing Tunde Ajayi, and they're saying that Ajayi didn't give him good instructions in the corner. To be honest with you, I was watching the fight and I was so excited by the action. You know, I was sat here with friends like screaming at the screen. We were so excited. I really wasn't paying attention to what Tunde was saying in between rounds. Hopefully BT Sport upload it to their YouTube channel, or somebody uploads it to Daily Motion so I can watch it maybe tomorrow or during the week. But yeah, man, I just can't give enough praise to Anthony Yarde for that performance, given how inexperienced he is. You know, the chin that he showed, the heart, the determination, the skill, the athleticism, the speed. You know, it's all there. It's just the stamina. If he can manage it better. One thing I forgot to mention, though, is Yarde is what, 28, 29, I believe, or 27. He's somewhere in his late 20s. He's not getting any smaller. Okay, so eventually light heavyweight will become impossible for him to make. And the more difficult the weight gets for him to make, the worse his stamina could be. All right, so his stamina might not get any better from here on in at 175 pounds. So it really is imperative that he learns how to manage that stamina. I'm very interested to see what Tunde Ajayi's got to say. I'm not being bad mind, but Tunde is a man who, speaks with a certain amount of confidence, and it works up to a certain extent, but it didn't work as well as Tunde wanted it to work. And I want to see what he's got to say after the fight, Again, anybody who is trashing Anthony Yarde after this, I mean, when did you start watching boxing? That was a fantastic performance under the circumstances. Kovalev, really and truly, right? And I'm going to give Kovalev credit here because he came through some tough moments and, he proved his own toughness and what have you. But Kovalev was supposed to win this fight, people. Let's get it right. In fact, Kovalev wasn't even supposed to have that much trouble. He was supposed to smash this young man to pieces. That's what was supposed to happen. With the experience disparity between the two, this wasn't supposed to be competitive, but it was competitive. So anybody who's being objective and real and who has any kind of knowledge of boxing, you have to give massive credit to Yarde and Team Yarde for the performance they put in there. And he showed a tremendous amount of promise. So, hats off to him. Lions in the camp. We don't get weak, we get deep. He fell a little short at the final hurdle, but as long as he stays dedicated and believes in himself, and as long as that loss wasn't too physically and psychologically damaging to him, then he can do great. He can come back and he can definitely be a force at world level in the not too distant future, I think. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And as far as Kovalev moving forward, he's ready for the taking. There is no way, in my mind right now, the way my perception sees it, there's no way that Kovalev is going to start mixing it with the other champions. Let's say he fights the 3 other champions, he's taking L's. He might even take an L against Canelo. Yeah, like Kovalev, if you thought he was slowing down before this fight is going to take years off his career. So that's what I thought. And Kovalev's been a great champion. He's got boxing skills. He's got boxing brain. He's shown he's got perseverance in there. When it was questioned after the first Andre Ward fight and after the Alvarez fight, he bounced back in the Alvarez rematch, showed that he has got determination and heart. He isn't just a front runner. And he showed it here again because Andre Ward, and I was watching the ESPN feed, Andre Ward and Tim Bradley were saying Kovalev's just a front runner. Well, he showed he's a bit more than that tonight. He came through some very, very tough times and he had to tell Buddy McGirt in the corner, no, don't stop the fight. Because Buddy was close to stopping it. So, man, great fight, by the way. If I didn't mention that already, any of you who haven't seen it, you need to get on and see it. This is a great fight. Now, just lastly, I've already seen, these people are so stupid, it's unreal. I've already seen some of these Deontay Wilder fanboys, for some reason, descending on various posts and what have you online, saying, oh, he's just like AJ, big muscles, but no stamina and this, that, and the other. Once again, this was Anthony Yarde's 19th fight. Who was Deontay Wilder fighting in his 19th fight? I'll show you. It's a rhetorical question, of course. This is who Deontay Wilder was fighting in his 19th fight. This guy. Okay? Daniel Cota. That's who Deontay Wilder fought in his 19th fight. What Anthony Yarde did would be the equivalent of Deontay Wilder stepping in with Klitschko in his 19th fight. That's what it would have been like. Deontay Wilder didn't even go anywhere near Klitschko in his 30th fight. Deontay Wilder was champion for years and ducked Klitschko shamelessly. The Gypsy King had to go in there because Wilder wasn't man enough to challenge Klitschko. The Gypsy King had to do it. And even after that, Wilder still had the opportunity to fight Klitschko. But no, Joshua then went in there and fought Klitschko because Wilder didn't have the heart. His team didn't have the heart to stick him in there. So imagine them sticking Wilder in with Klitschko when he was 19 fights deep in his 19th fight. They would have never done that. They were sticking him in with this guy after 19 fights. So none of you Wilder idiotic fanboys have got any place to be trying to ridicule Anthony Yarde for what just happened to him there. When this guy had a set of balls on him far bigger than the Alabama Mama Pajama Slammer, whatever the hell he wants to call himself, had when he was 18-0. Yeah? Don't start coming on my channel and talking rubbish. What was the Alabama hillbilly doing in his 19th fight? You tell me. He could have fought Klitschko back then. He didn't. Could have fought Klitschko when he first won his world title. He didn't. So give Anthony Yarde his props. All right, for going in there, having the heart and the balls to fight this guy in his backyard and do as well as he did. Yeah, let's be real about it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's happening, I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.